And we are live. All right. Kate here, GILDAY over there.
What up?
GILDAY, welcome to the impromptu dedicated show where I randomly text you and say, do you want to do a live show? And you say, sure. So that's
Verbatim.
literally how we got started. Um, I'm not even going to do intros. I just want to get right into it. So yesterday you had a post. And 19 hours ago, you said you had this idea at 6 a.m. and by 4 p.m. it was done. I'm sure a lot of people already saw this, but I'm going to get down to it. You created it's a couple of minutes long, a full-on promo video just just with AI for all things video, content, voice, and people don't hear it here, but it sounds great. It looks amazing. They actually look real. I think if you wouldn't know, you really wouldn't know. It just looks like a really well designed video. So, the reason for my call for the live show here is I want to know, how the heck did you do it? What tools did you use? And is this something that I can use today? Tell me more.
Well, the future is frightening and super exciting and exhilarating, and it's going to be awesome before it becomes terrible. But, we at Deep Vibe have always been trying to experiment with these tools, going back to executive producing the podcast, which you were on, More Intelligent Tomorrow. We really started getting a sense for how quickly these things were going to accelerate once they started to hit critical mass, and then all the different tools started influencing each other, which is where the real power gets unlocked with a lot of generative AI. But we've been in the trenches. It's challenging to make these things do exactly what you want, and they're constantly evolving, and UX is not a great thing. But I will say that VO2, when it came out from Google, blew my mind, and getting access to it was pretty hard, but I will say Sora, I'm a fan of OpenAI in terms of how well, the models and the ChatGPT works, and now Image 4.0. But Sora, I think, was always smoke and mirrors and kind of bullshit, to be honest, whereas VO2 came out and I was like, oh, this is the real deal, and getting access was hard. And then by the time I finally got access when it was on the other platforms, I was busy and I didn't have time. So VO3 came out, Google I/O this week, and the stuff I saw was incredible. So I'm like, I'm going to try to jump on this right now. Still couldn't get access with my Workspace account, so I had to figure some stuff out, which I did, and then proceeded to, get AI Ultra subscription and blew through all my credits, and then had to add some more credits. But I had an idea. I woke up out of a dead sleep at 6 a.m. with an idea. I wrote it down. I went back to sleep for a little bit, got back up, sat down, worked with both Claude and ChatGPT to come up with script, and then started feeding that into Google Flow and VO3, and was instantly blown away by, because the big thing is lip sync, the audio generation and the lip sync, which has been really challenging for a lot of these tools. The realism, they're all kind of getting there, and Flow is an unfinished tool. They just kind of pushed it out for, I'm sure, competitive reasons. When the rest of the tool set that is supposed to be in there, like ingredients and image to video inputs, when they're in there, it's going to be even more powerful. But it is still just incredibly powerful. So I'm just sitting here giggling maniacally like a fool as I get these renditions back, and the performance. And I went through a lot of generations, and there was stuff that, but I mean, the hit ratio on like good to garbage was way higher than normal.
Okay.
Like way higher. And I can show you. I ended up going through and deleting a bunch of the ones that weren't good.
So what are we looking at here?
So this is Flow, Google Flow, which is their new tool for let me try to get this so it's, there we go, which is their new tool for kind of orchestrating your generations. And they do have a neat scene builder that you can do that is kind of okay. But you go down here, you can do text to video, you can do frames to video and ingredients to video. Like I mentioned, these things aren't really working. Oh, they do have upload. Okay.
What's ingredients? So you can like upload a picture of someone? or
Yeah, so
something?
you can have or a certain number of elements that you want the model to then incorporate in the video. So instead of like framed a video where you wanted to kind of turn this specific frame into the video, you say, here's some sneakers, and
Mm.
here's a Corvette, and here's a blind woman, and I want them all to be in a video. I
Oh
don't know
my
how well
God.
it works, but it's a more common thing, Runways, you doing it, with references and some other tools. It's hard to keep track of the hundreds of tools that are out there, which is most of what we do, is like trying to figure out what are the tools that are worth the time and what are the platforms, and validate that stuff. This is like my main job. But,
Right.
but this upload was not available yesterday. So now you can upload your own frames um, or ingredients.
Okay. So you
But
upload your ingredients, or you
but
use text, right, to
but
just
yeah,
tell
I
it.
did. This wasn't available to me yesterday, so
Okay.
everything I had to do was text to video, right?
Okay.
So I started putting in the prompts. You can see. You can't see that one. I'll do one above. You can see the prompt right here.
Yeah.
It's got the dialogue. It's got a prompt, and the dialogue generation and the performances was incredible. Like some people I had to do, like these guys, I just did it once, and I got two versions of the same line, and I ended up using the first half of this guy and the second half of this guy, and making it seem like it was, a two-person shoot.
And no one has 5 fingers. I mean 6 fingers. They all have 5 fingers.
Yeah,
That's
they do. Yeah, fingers is now a lot easier, but it was a problem early on. I do throw in the joke at the end of the video about the gorilla with 6 fingers, but it doesn't actually have 6 fingers. It has 5 fingers.
the gorilla thing was just such a shock. It was so cool. Like the possibilities, seeing that video just opened up so many ideas for me that I think if I start playing with it, my kids will miss me. They will be like, Where's mom?" Like I'll be gone for a while
I
because
know,
this is addictive.
100%. But even if you look at the backgrounds of a lot of these,
Wow.
the detail is incredible, and you can't really sculpt it yet. There's not like in painting and those kinds of important tools that help an artist, more explicitly express, what they're looking for in a scene. But
Mhm.
this is the worst it's ever going to be. And it's, the Leadership
And it's
Award 2009, like, which is here in the prompt, trophy behind labeled Leadership Award 2019. Like, just
wow.
incredible, like,
It
and
really
so
is.
many of these were so spot on. This guy's performance was so funny. It actually didn't work in isolation. And then when I sort of figured out, and a lot of this is my experience as an editor and a storyteller, and
And
being,
a creative person who actually knows what good looks like.
yeah, and being able to, take snippets of these. Obviously it's comedy, so timing is everything, and I tried to make them all work. And the stuff that I left out oh, hi Heather Ferguson. The stuff that I left out, is really important to making it work. But there was, like, I loved this lady, but I also loved this lady, and I had to choose which one, to go with, and I ended up going with her. But some of them are hard decisions. But I will say, as overall context, I have a team who are amazing, incredible animators, incredible editors, designers. I could have brought them in to help with this, and there's a million things I would have made better, and I could have made better, and I could have taken weeks on it. I could have spent weeks to make it 5 to 10% better. But the whole goal was like, I, to be meta, but I wanted to vibe create it. I wanted
Yeah.
to,
Mhm.
use tools that complemented each other. I wanted to go from idea to output in one day, and I ended up
Mhm.
being way less than one day. It was less than 10 hours, right?
So let's walk very quickly. Let's walk through the process. So you woke up, you went back to sleep, you woke up, you woke up again. You got in your computer. What was the first tool you used?
So I went to both Claude and ChatGPT. So I'm a writer. I'm a screenwriter, and I've been a writer for most of my life. I've been paid professionally to write for, I don't know, at least the last 15 years. And so I went to both Claude and ChatGPT to kind of get some ideas going. And I started with a deep research on, and I love pinging these tools against each other, but I
Mhm.
started with a deep research on, I want to make a funny fake testimonial with AI generated spokespeople. I want to be centered around vibe coding, vibe marketing, vibe creating. Can you do deep research on the whole viral Gen AI vibe name category thing? So it asked me some questions, and I love deep research for this stuff, and it spent 15, 20 minutes, and it went through and it found, a lot of sourced quotes and like kind of set the knowledge context for
Yeah.
my next conversation that I was going to have about making the script and the ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and then I took that and I uploaded, or I copied that into here, the contents of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started this is my initial idea right here that I had put into my Obsidian. So I have evidence that this was the fully just human, no other collaborators part
Yeah.
was this part right here for the most part. Everybody's coming for our vibe. 2025 has become the year of the vibe. And since we were deep vibe way before vibe coding became a thing in February of this year, and Andrei Karpathy was the one who I think first kind of got out there, saying it on X. So this was the thing that I started with, and then I told it I want to write a script with a funny fake testimonial, blah 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 blah. I said I'm going to use Google VO3's new model, and there's not much information about it, so I wanted it to do some research on how to prompt it well, which I think did a fairly good job. And then I copied in the deep research, right?
Okay.
So a lot of zooming that I know looks great on a live stream, but
it's fine. Those who need this will watch it. I'm one of those. I identify as those. Okay.
So then it started laying out sample scenes, right? And this is,
Okay.
this is where my experience as a writer and an editor and a producer and a director, like I'm able to go through this. The amazing thing about LLMs is they can be writers, a whole room of writers assistants, and you can be like, terrible, terrible, terrible. Oh crap! Like if it made me laugh while I'm sitting here reading it by myself, I'm like, that's amazing. So it may need some tweaking, it may need some adjusting, but just kind of curating through those, is where some magic really starts to happen. And what I love about all these AI tools is you can get to that 80% so much faster and then apply your human experience, your human perspective, to like make it tighter, make it more interesting, make it better, evolve it, that kind of stuff. So here it gave me some tips on VO3 and Flow prompting best practices.
Okay. So whatever is in quotes in VO3 would actually be spoken word, right?
These are quotes. These are things that they found as examples of good prompts.
Okay.
So this was just it doing research, but then it took this knowledge in to help me craft these prompts.
Okay.
And here's some sample prompt pairing. So the prompt and then, alternate prompt and then, dialogue. So I was like, this is awesome. We worked together to start, it laid out an original kind of montage thing. I mean, the other important thing is I have trained ChatGPT on Deep Vibe, our creative agency, what we do, how we do it, our tone, our brand tone of voice, my personal tone of voice. And I've been doing it for a while now. And luckily now that memory is persistent, I don't have to constantly re-upload knowledge base docs that give it a sense for what we do. It's now, not only is it part of the explicit knowledge base, but it can also look through your other chats that weren't necessarily put right to the knowledge base memory. And so it gets to my style, which is kind of weird and irreverent and conversational and not so serious really quickly. So that helps with all of the writing. But I mean, a lot of this stuff was totally my style, and definitely not blah or vanilla. But I would, go through and pick the stuff that worked. I didn't necessarily follow this flow when I got into editing, but it, later on I said, hey, give me some sample storyboards, because, 4.0 image generation is mind-bogglingly good. I ended up not being able to use these in VO because it wouldn't let me upload image references. But
it does now, right?
yeah, as of one day later, it does. But just having this vibe in my head,
you knew how to kind of phrase it.
Well, but it also helped me like get into the scene too, like as I'm trying to write, when you're writing in the abstract, you got to try to imagine a bunch of stuff at the same time, which when you're good and experienced as a creative doing it for a long time, you can do, but anything that can shortcut that process, really helps. So like, I was able to kind of put these people in my head and then start think about, because they're all stereotypes, you know, like each one of
Yeah.
these is a stereotype. You know, the CEO in denial, a slick, too confident 50s-ish man sitting in a modern glass conference room gesturing expansively. Leadership isn't about doing, it's about guiding the vibe. That's irreplaceable, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I love it, man.
Yeah, I ended up getting kind of like these performances, you know, just from text out of VO3, which was, you
But
know,
people don't
mind.
want text anymore. They don't want pictures. They want video, and now we have the ability to do this. I just want to briefly stop the screen share just to say how cool it is that you specifically, Michael Gilday at Deep Vibe, is playing with this. A lot of people see AI and they're like, "No, I can do it better. Screw AI." They stay away from it. But I think it is people like you who actually embrace the technology and like, look what I can do now versus being intimidated and scared of it. Those are the ones who are going to succeed, because a lot of people are so scared, like, oh,
And they
illustrators,
should.
I know some, they're like, I'm not using AI generated content. Well, goodbye to your job, like that's going to be the future. So
I mean,
I
this
just
is
love
existential for so many of us, if not all of
it.
us. And
Yeah.
did I choose this path? I did not. Did I want us to be here where we are right now? I did not. Am I frightened, like just fundamentally frightened? Absolutely. But I think we had some off ramps over the last few years, you know, potential legislation, regulation. Um, those, we missed all of those. And I think, you know, potentially, you know, by the time we got to November of this year, it's over. We're strapped into the seats. We're on the launching pad. The rocket is taking off. The only way out, I keep telling people, the only way out is through.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, I would prefer people, regular humans like us, not giant mega corporations, to influence the navigation,
Yeah.
influence where we go. You know, like these tools are frightening and they're going to steal all sorts of intellectual property and whatever, absolutely. But they are accelerating. And if you don't figure out your future, and I'm very scared for the young folks. You know, I'm on the board of advisors at my alma mater, Emerson College, and I tell every young person I can, you know, grab their ear to learn these tools and become a resource for older folks, you know,
Mm-hmm.
on how to use it and how to use it better. Because those lower level entry level jobs, those apprenticeship journeyman type jobs where you would get paid a third as much and it would take you 3 times as long, but you would get to good work, you would learn on the job. Those are going to go away fast if they're not
Yeah.
already gone. Because I can have a room of writers assistants, you know, with LLMs. I can have a room full of junior designers and animators and now editors at any time that I want, and they're not going to complain, and they're actually going to respond well to my feedback. And I don't have to
Yeah,
manage
exactly.
personalities, you know, and they can scale up. Like, and that sucks because
Yeah.
that's where all the future creatives and the future artists, and there's so many industries that are going to get commoditized. So I think, and I wrote a screed about this, an AI manifesto, the last day of 2024. People can look up. It's DIY the fuck out of AI in 2025. And it's,
You're gonna get me banned from LinkedIn now. Thanks, Gilday.
I apologize. They
You
don't,
meant
I
bots, right? Like the
swear in
animal.
all my posts on LinkedIn, and it hasn't hurt me in the algorithm as far,
Okay, good. Then we're
but,
safe. It's fine.
but maybe I apologize. It's all my
Um,
fault, not Kate's. But, you know, it is mostly that post was about the year of agents, you know, and agentic AI and how it's, you know, really going to change things. But
yeah,
the general thesis is we've all got to lean in and help guide the development of the tools. Like,
yeah,
unfortunately, sticking your head in the sand or shaking your fist at a tsunami saying it's
yeah.
not fair is not going to work.
Could be fun for a minute, you know.
I mean, plenty of people are doing it, like, and I get it. It's frightening and it's scared, and
See, now I'm thinking how to create this visual of someone. Gilday stands there with nose ring, glasses, and hat, shaking fist at tsunami.
oh,
Like,
I made that image in Midjourney a year ago, but it was a dinosaur, you know, shaking its fist at the comet that was coming, you
wait,
know.
I think I might have seen that. Did
Yeah,
you create that?
yeah. I mean, my
Wait,
themes are not, they're pretty persistent. I say the same things over and over again. Like,
before we wrap, Gilday, I know we have a few minutes. For perspective, you know, when we watch this video 5 years from now or 5 months from now, what was the cost of the total cost? Don't count your time
two
that
hundred
you
and fifty
took.
dollars.
How much?
$250.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I mean, we do have like an Epidemic subscription, and I do have like, I ended up editing in Premiere because Resolve was on the other computer and I didn't want to go across the room. But I paid the reduced price of $200 for Google AI Ultra subscription. And then I
Okay.
burned through my 10,000 credits or however many credits there were, and I got another $50 worth of credits. So $250. But
Those credits are for the VO3 or?
yeah, for all the generations that you do, they it's using up compute. They charge it through credits.
Mhm.
The problem with all Gen AI generation is it's a lot of pulling the lever on the slot machine and hoping you get good stuff. This tends to hit and win way more often, but it's still a
Mhm.
lot of generating.
And you're paying.
Cheap.
Yeah, just like slot machines, you're paying for
But I
that.
cost $300 an hour, just
Well,
myself. So like, my team costs money, other people cost money. $250 for a whole entire video that is amazing is,
and you're
penny.
an expert in this space. For you to hire, I don't know how many actors and the gorilla with apparently not six fingers to say that script and how long that would take and the equipment and the
I mean,
editing.
this is a $200,000 to $300,000 shoot.
Yeah.
And it would take, 4 months, like
Yeah.
2 to 4 months, depending,
Wow.
And is it
That's
perfect? No. But I mean, my whole goal with this was to YOLO it, be as raw as possible, get it done
yeah.
as fast as possible. Like I could have brought my team in, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just going to do it myself and see
Yeah.
what I
I
can
think
do.
it means more that way, where you just do it yourself and see what can you pull off, just you yourself and your computer. Wow.
And I wanted to
That's
leave
amazing.
in or not make it perfect. Like I really, and I talked to my partners. They were the only people who saw it before I posted it. Two of my partners, Isamar and Urosh. And I was like, I could make it better. I did ask them which music track. I had 2 music tracks. I was like, which one do you like better? And that was the
Okay.
only change. They were just like, just post it. Don't even think about it. Just post it.
I'm
And I
so
did.
happy you posted it. And thank you so much for joining this very random live show to tell people how you did it. Because a lot of people are intimidated, right? Even when ChatGPT came out, a lot of people I know, they're like, oh, I don't even know how to use AI. And they were so scared. I'm like, you just literally type a question. And some of these things are easier and not as intimidating as you would think. But it helps to just see that walkthrough of like, okay, oh, that's what that looks like. And that's what VO3 looks like. So I appreciate you coming on, sharing with the audience. And for whoever's not following Gilday yet, go ahead, follow Michael Gilday on LinkedIn. Deep Vibe, the best creative agency ever. We're doing some cool stuff in July. Go
Yeah.
run wild. Woo,
Yeah. AI in the desert. It's going to be a wild, literally experience. I'm pretty excited for people to find out more about that.
I can't wait. Yes, we'll keep sharing
It
more
will
about that.
be
But follow Run Wild AI on LinkedIn too. We have a
it will
page
be a
for it.
human AI collaboration experience in the desert, something that's never existed before and maybe not again. So I'm excited.
Hey, it will happen again. So I'm very excited for that. And Gilday, thank you again for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate.